What's up, everybody? Sam Smyers here. Today, I want to show you how to make the bass to Tesla by Mal P. And before we get started today, please go ahead and give this video a like, and please make sure to subscribe to my channel if you are not yet subscribed. And if you do want to grab the preset to the sound, you can find it in my Patreon. So that is the sound I'm going to show you how to make. Now, I did hear these little stabs in between the bass, which I wasn't sure if it was a little delay or just part of the drums. And all I did, you can hear it's really quiet, and I just exported one of the notes of the bass that I made and then EQ'd it like this. You can see I've got all of that low end cut out and the top end cut out. And I'll turn it up for a second. I just heard that like in the mix somewhere, so that's why I made those, just to fit the track a bit more. But those are derived from this sound, or just the sound. Now, I did make a short video on this bass, but I had two separate layers. But since I'm using Serum 2, I figured why not try to combine it and turn it into one preset. So I was able to create just one preset to make this sound. So let me turn off the kickstart. I'll show you my kickstart settings. These are the kickstart settings that I was using. And now let's go into Serum. So I think to create those plucks here, I just did this. I used this layer. So you can hear that is the wide layer. And then there is another layer that is a bit more distorted, which is more centered. So I felt like there were at least two layers that he has for this bass. And I do want to walk you through how I routed everything in Serum to create these two layers in one preset, because we have this layer right here, which is your wide layer. And then you do have these two layers here, or this next layer, which is like the more distorted saw wave, and a square wave preset, or just the centered bass. Which is kind of like that. So let me figure out how to do this. So I will take off all of the effects here, go to my main. So let's start from there. So let's go through my voicing. I set my voicing to mono because this is a bass. That's just something that I always do for bass sounds. Now my envelope 1, this is going to control your release and your sustain and your decay and everything like that. So envelope 1 is shaped like this. I do just have a square wave, and I turn the randomness down to 0. Levels at 75%. Octave at -2, so I can play it in that lower octave on my keyboard. Just because I have like a little tiny keyboard. Then I'll go over to the oscillator B, turn this on, but now my oscillator B, so you can see these are both the default shapes. So I have my wavetable position, just raise that up to a square wave, and this one's just at the starting position at 1. And so with this one, I have the octave at -1, and the fine tuning is at 10. So just made an adjustment to that fine tuning. Randomness also at 0, but I did adjust this phase a little bit, and that will change how it sounds, like with the interaction between these two wavetables if I have the randomness at 0. So you can hear how that changes. So I picked around 111 or so, and now these two together, you get that distorted sound. Then I went to my envelope 2, shaped it like this, and turned on a filter. I went to normal, low 24, and then just assigned my envelope 2 to the cutoff, adjusted this modulation, 39, 40%, resonance is there, drive is there, and then just turned it on for my A and B. And I don't need it on for my sub and my noise, so I can just shut that off like that. All right, so now here's where it kind of gets a little tricky, where you have to do some weird routing with Serum 2. So if I do want to send this to a bus, what this normally will be set like is it'll say something like main is how it will be set. But if you do want to process this separately from another layer, like I'm going to show you how to do, then you'll want to click here and just do none, and then just send it to the bus. Because the bus, once you send this to the bus in your mix, your bus is going to be sent to the main after it goes through the bus. And you can go to your mix section and see how that routing is done. So I see here we've got the bus and it's set to main. And then the filter is set to none and the bus is sent to bus 1. So then from there, I'm going to add on my effects to this layer in the bus. I added on a soft clip distortion with this post filter. It's set around 8 kilohertz. Drive is at 75%, and then the mix is at 100%. And I raised up the level a bit on the output. And then I just dipped some frequencies around 700 hertz. And that's how I get that first layer. So now we have that first layer. Now what I want to do is show you how to do the second layer and show you how to route that. So the second layer is just going to be like a wider layer with some saws in there. And so I'm going to turn on oscillator C, octave at -2, randomness at 100%, because I'm going to add multiple voices of unison. And I want them to phase with each other. Unison's at 8. Width in here is at 100%. Detuning is 0.06. Level is at 80%. So then from here, I think it was sent to filter 2, but it'll probably just say like main or sending it to a filter. But from here, then you just do send it to none, and then raise this up to bus 2. So now I can go into my bus 2 in my effects section, and this is where I process the wider layer. So I did add on a bit more processing on the effects here. I added on this multiband compressor, and let me just mute this first layer. And then I added the filter after the compressor, the multiband compression. And I'm using a low 24 filter. And the reason that I do this instead of adding on the filter and then the multiband compression is because sometimes if I want a little bit more like a flatness to the sound or a bit more of this smack sound, then I will try adding on the multiband compressor before a filter I guess I don't really know how to describe it, but the compressor just like slams all the frequencies together and flattens them out, and then I add on the filter afterward. And so there's just something about it where maybe it gives it more of like a flatter and smackier sound than more of like a beefy sound without it. And then my low 24 also I tend to use if I want a bit more, like you hear a bit more of a knock sound on each of the attacks of each of the notes. And then I'm also going to add on another envelope assigned to the pitch, which is going to add more of that knock sound. This low 24, the filter, the envelope that I used, I actually, instead of using the envelope 2 again, I used a different envelope because there's a lot of envelopes now available. I used this envelope 4, and then I just clicked and dragged this to the modulation here on this cutoff to add in this modulation. So that envelope is a little bit different. You could probably just try using this one as well, but if you want a bit more control over how that one sounds, like on that wider layer, then you can use another envelope. Let's go on to the soft clip distortion. Drive is at 33%, mix is at 50%. And then my EQ, I'm cutting all the low end off because I have the low end from that center, which I want to be coming through. So now we have the bus 1, the bus 2, and they're all being sent to the main, and this is where you can process them all together if you want to. I didn't really do anything. I just had this on this utility plugin. So let's go ahead and turn on that other first layer. Turn on the oscillator A and the oscillator B. And I wanted a bit more knock out of the sound. So that is where I added on my pitch envelope now. So my envelope 3 here, I've got the attack, the decay, 25 milliseconds, really fast. You just go into your matrix, click and drag this to one of these slots here, envelope 3, go down to global, go to main tuning, and then you can adjust your amount here. So I have this at 50%, which is pretty high. So let's turn this on. And we get more of that like knock attack sound. Something I'd like to do also in my matrix section to keep it all clean, and if I go into here and want to be able to find everything, I'll do sort by source. So then it like lines everything up really nicely. And we'll throw in the kickstart for the final touch. Before we finish, this is the MIDI that I used. So if you do want to grab this preset, you can find it in my Patreon. Thank you so much for watching.